A very good morning to everybody. My name is Pallavi Bhardwaj. I am Senior Research Fellow from Department of Laws, Punjab University. Today on 9th of November, I am here at Jagat Guru Nanak Dev, Punjab State Open University, Patiala to speak over the topic National Legal Services. Now, this year's theme is Justice for All through the lens of legal aid. Now, why it is important? Coming from a legal fraternity, so we have a law, we have the access to justice, and it is the paramount basic bare minimum necessity of the citizens of the country. Ours is a living constitution, organic constitution. So the Indian constitution provides for a social justice and access to justice for all. Now on the eve of National Legal Services Day, so we are here to discuss first of all why do we need to have a day especially to celebrate the national legal services, and that is because on this very day we celebrate the commencement of a statutory legislation, that is the Legal Services Authorities Act that came into being on 1987. And although it came into force later on after 8 years of its enactment, but this very act was a very transformative piece of legislation as it brought into the consideration the other mechanisms. So now having an organic living constitution, we have our roots back to the ancient holy text and the literature that was there, and the codified law that we have now, of course, that is our constitution. So for example, in Kautilya's Shastra, it was given that the foremost duty of the state is to protect the poor, orphan and the infirm, and that is the legacy on which our constitution is built, to uplift everybody, every person, and to work for all. So when we are talking about justice is important while having access to justice to all. Now the Legal Services Authorities Act is a bridge that comes to protect the victims and to provide them the level playing field, to provide them all the aid that they require along with the required awareness and the forum, so that they can also have the access to justice. This comes under the principle of social revolution that was also ingrained as a foremost task by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar while drafting our constitution. Now, what is the crux of the Act? The Legal Services Authority Act is divided into 7 chapters and 30 sections. This all covers about the various establishments formed under the Act. For example, we have a 3 system of hierarchy: the National Legal Services Authority at the national level, then we have the State Legal Services Authority. For example, as it is present in Punjab, Haryana, different states have different state legal services authorities. And then at the 3rd level, we have the District Legal Service authorities. These are the establishment formed having different impanelist lawyers and volunteers, paralegal volunteers, so that they can come in aid whenever there is a requirement of a free legal aid. They also work as an establishment to uplift the poor and the economically backward and the disadvantaged sections of the society. That is, for example, sometimes there are people who are not able to pay the fee of the lawyer, and they also have certain kind of offense that has occurred in their life that they need a legal advice or the expert opinion. So at that point of time, they can have access to a lawyer impaneled with these authorities, so that they can fight on their behalf and they can help them in getting justice. Apart from this, the various legal service authorities, they also provide the different schemes, and time and again they also uphold the awareness camps that provide information to the various sections of the society. Now, being a law student, and also to all the audience who are listening this, first of all, being the citizen of the country, it's not always about the rights, but it's also about the duty, and it's also about what we are giving back to the society. So when we are talking about a National Legal Service Day, it's not just about the statutory enactments or the laws and the technicalities or the procedure that is involved, but also what is the key takeaway from this. So in the Nalsa versus Union of India 2014 landmark judgment, so there was recognition given to the 3rd gender, that is the transgender. Now this particular body has to go to Nalsa to get access to justice. This is a classic example that how in the modern world also, in the present contemporary times, Legal Services Act is also in place to help the poor, and it's not just the poor, it's it include all the disadvantaged sections of the society. It could be women, it could be children, it could be the people with the economic disabilities, or the people who are not having the necessary legal education. We have Article 39A in the Constitution, from which this idea was developed into a statutory legislation. It talks about free legal justice to everybody, equality in law, and equality in fact has to be there as stated under the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. Now, when we are talking about equality, there has to be substantive equality as well. It was held in the case of Jane Kaushik versus Union of India, 2025 in October. It's a recent judgment which shows that how law transforms eventually. And on this very Legal Services Day, we are here to understand how law is making an impact and how we can also, as a citizen of the country, deliver and also become a part of this journey. So firstly, we can make aware to people around us about the legal phenomena that are taking place, and we can also guide them about this particular act and the mechanism of this act. In this act, if we talk about statutory provision, there is section 12 that talks about the public utility services. So whenever there is a person underprivileged who are not having access to the justice and they require certain kind of help, so that they can come under this category and they can contact the state legal or the district legal services authority for a legal help, and they would be granted a lawyer. They will be associated and tied up with a lawyer who can fight a case on their behalf. And this especially comes into picture in the rural areas and in the areas where legal awareness is not very much. So being a citizen of the country, we can also help in this process. If there is any person around us who are in dire need of a lawyer, who are in dire need of a legal advice, we can guide them through this channel. And for the law students or the aspiring lawyers, anybody who wish to do anything in the legal field, they can also contact these organizations. So to have the experience of the internship there, for example, they can have winter or summer internship, 15 days. This also guides them as to how our system works underground. Since we always have this problem that living in a country where we have the principle or the doctrine of separation of power and three organs into picture, the legislative, executive and the judiciary, and we always say that judiciary is overburdened with cases. Now this Legal Services Authorities Act provide with alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Now this ADR mechanism is very trending nowadays, and there is also a concept of online dispute resolution. But entire this philosophy would be important if it is not as a privilege to the society, but when it is fulfilled as a sacred obligation of both of the state and the society. Justice Suryakant, on this eve of National Legal Service Day at the conference held, said that the true measure of India's justice system lies in how deeply it touches the life of the ordinary citizens. And the legal aid, which we are discussing today, is the bridge between the constitutional ideals and the tangible relief from the invisible victims of the system. So the biggest takeaway of this lecture would be, we as a citizen of the country, we should be aware of our rights firstly, and secondly we should also be able to guide the other people how to go to the channel so that they can help them. I think for that reason only we are collectively called as a nation. This will also lead to fraternity and unity among the citizens, when we are not there just to help people by the sake of saying, but also to guiding them to the right mechanism so that they can also have the access to justice first of all, and then it's the matter of later on trial that whether they are getting it or not. But firstly, every person must have access or the legal awareness, at least firstly, to go to that step. Thank you very much.